Hello, Awesome Soul here, and welcome to Hallowfest number 4. Yes, indeed, the Hallowfest event is finally upon us. Now, I know I kind of discussed this a little bit in the last video, however, there has been a lot more clarification as well as general information on what exactly we have in this update. And there just so happens to be quite a lot of good things here. There's something for everyone, basically. Though something kind of interesting here. They state, from Thursday, the 19th of October, players can celebrate the spooky season, yada yada yada. But, as far as I can tell, they do not give a date for when this event is going to end. Though my best guess would probably be around the end of Halloween, sort of early November. Anyways, with this event, we're also getting an update. So there is more to it than just simply the Hallowfest event. There are bug fixes and new features as well. So the things specifically for the event, however, is 1, we're getting the Halloween mothership returning, or possibly a new Halloween mothership, which is basically your building garage bay. And the spooky in-game music will return when you are building as well. We now have pumpkin-themed salvage crates. The cackling skulls from Aeroflak now returns as well, along with a more spooky Aeroflak explosion. Of course, there's going to be a Hallowfest 4 login screen. And finally, upon your death, there is now going to be a, quote, scary death scream. Previously, I remember it being like a witch's cackle. Not sure if that's going to be what it is this time, but hey, we'll wait and see. And the other thing that comes with the update is the spider leg insect part. Basically just a cosmetic variant of the existing insect leg soldier. And as such, it is rated as an epic quality part. However, for the duration of the event, you will be getting them as uncommons, meaning they'll be showing up in crates a whole lot more than if they were an epic item. One of the other things we're getting with the event is a brand new brawl, the Bats and Spiders Brawl. As I'm sure some of you are aware, there are already bat-themed wings in the game. Those are from previous Halloween events. And now, with this Halloween event, we are getting the spider legs. So obviously, as the name suggests, in this brawl, you can only use insect legs and rudders and wings only. No word on thrusters or propellers, so my best guess, those are not permitted. Especially considering that wings can also move on their own. And the other thing I should mention here, as far as I can tell, you do not need the cosmetic variant. I could be wrong though, but I don't see why they would make it that limited. But if you remember what I was saying, the whole spider legs being rated as uncommon and therefore a lot easier to get, well, the reward for this brawl is you get 3 times the EXP as well as an extra bonus crate just for your first victory. So as soon as the update drops, I would highly recommend going into there and picking that up. Now, what about some of the other things we're getting? Well, there is a brand new feature where you can toggle the HUD on and off. I've talked about this previously, but now we have more details on it. So this allows players to hide and unhide the HUD in-game. It should be noted though that this is only in-game and not garage bay, unfortunately. You can do this by pressing the plus or equals key, and they say here this has been added to enable streamers and video content creators to capture cleaner gameplay footage. Players can also turn on the HUD by pressing the tab key, and if I remember correctly by one of the random tweets I read, you can also do it by hitting escape, which is nice because if somehow a new player randomly presses those keys, your first reaction when something goes wrong is usually pressing the escape key. Oh, and by the way, the new spider leg is not the only cosmetic we're getting in the game. We're actually getting 3 entirely new cosmetic items. And this is the Spike Claw, Spike Needle, and Spike Pin. They're all rated uncommon. They have 1 P-flop, however, since they are cosmetic, they do count towards your cosmetic CPU. And that also means you cannot get them from the forge. You do need to get them from crates only. But I have to say, these things look really, really good. I can see a lot of dinosaurs and insect bots being made using these parts. From there, we come into the improvements section. As I said before, there are improvements added to the game with this update, so what exactly are we getting? Well, the wings and rudders, as well as the bat wings and bat rudders, have all been improved in various ways. So the rate at which they bank turn, and elevate, as well as thrust, have been adjusted. They say they've improved the largest parts a small amount and the smaller parts a large amount. This is to ensure less performance loss when using smaller wings or rudder parts. So hopefully we should see a lot more of those then. Also, something that I'm rather pleased about, they say that they have also greatly reduced the loss of performance when your robot is a lot heavier. So rather than up to a maximum of 75% reduction in performance, you now have a 50% reduction in performance at the maximum weight. And the big one that I am very pleased about is that they say they have implemented general improvements to the insect leg, making them more enjoyable to use in battle. And that's literally all they say, unfortunately. Not a huge amount of specifics there, so hopefully the many things people have complained about have all been fixed. And the other thing they're kind of tight-lipped on is improvements to hoverblade parts. That's it. Though if I do remember correctly, the reason they were going back to the hoverblades is because they wanted to increase the speed at which you can ascend and descend. So hopefully that is what they have addressed there. Speaking of addressing things, the Battle Arena reward crate has been increased from a 3x3 to a 4x4. So instead of getting 3 rows and then another 3 rows, you now have 4 rows and 4 rows, just like the League Arena crate, which is pretty good. I'm thinking the reason they did this is because, especially for an event like this, you would want to grind as many crates as you can. And if you could be getting more items by playing a variant of that game mode, well then everybody is just going to be flooding into League Arena, and the unranked variant of Battle Arena is going to be left rather barren. But now, since both modes offer the same reward crate, the more casual players can stick to Battle Arena, and the more intense players can keep with League Arena. And the final improvement they stated here is that they have localized the Steam achievements. Not completely sure what they mean by that, but my best guess is that perhaps they're tied in-game as well as through Steam. So you now actually get a little note in-game, perhaps. And finally, we come to the other changes that they've added. So here are some actually really big and important ones, though most of these seem just to be for the event. So the rarity of all spooky cosmetic parts, which presumably is the wings, rudders, spider legs, as well as the mask, those are all now reduced to uncommon for the duration of the Hallowfest 4 event. Also, a massive one here. The drop rate of legendary parts in all crates have been increased by not 1, not 2, not even 3 or 4, but 5 times. So legendary parts are all 5 times more common than they usually are just for the Hallowfest 4 event. So you know what that means. Better get grinding. And finally, the last 2 things here, figured I'd throw them in here. They're not quite as big as the other ones, but hoverblades are now affected by carry mass. So does this mean that if you are over mass, you will not be able to move? That's going to cause a lot of problems for sprinters and mech combos. Or maybe they'll be fine. Maybe I'm reading into this incorrectly. Though by the time this video's out, you'll actually be able to test the update. And the last one is Unity game engine has been updated to 5.6. That probably means nothing to most of you, but chances are it just means the game is going to run a lot smoother. Also, there are bug fixes as well, but if you would like to read those for yourself, link to that will be in the description down below. Now, that is all of the Hallowfest related news, but as I'm sure you saw by the title, that is not all, because on Twitter yesterday, Mark dropped a rather massive bomb on us. Metaphorically speaking, of course. So he says, very excited to be able to announce a completely new Freejam game at Alpha in the next couple of weeks. It's been hard to keep it a secret. This is all really fantastic news, as a lot of people have been wondering if they'll ever make another game besides Robocraft, or Robocraft Infinity, for that matter. And to lay a lot of fears to rest, I'm sure some of you have, no, this is not going to affect the development of Robocraft. Robocraft will still continue on as it always has. So he says here, we will always keep working on Robocraft and adding to it and improving it as long as there are players who love it. And on top of that, the team who is working on it is completely separate. So it's been a team that's working on it for nearly a year now, and they've always been separate. So that means it will not affect Robocraft at all. And I also asked Mark, will there be a playable alpha test soon after the announcement? And he simply responds with, yes. Whether or not this is a closed alpha or open alpha, we don't really know yet. And on top of that, we don't really know anything else about the game. Though the one thing that they do seem to make clear, and they have said this a few times before on live streams, if I remember correctly, and that is they are very focused on community-driven games. So for example, in Robocraft, you can build your own robot and share it with pretty much everyone else, whether that be on external sites or with the actual in-game CRF. There's a huge amount of community around just simply creating cool designs and sharing them with people. So it's very likely that we're going to see some sort of big community feature in this new game. But here's a question to you guys. What would you like to see out of this new game? As we don't really know anything about it, this is more of a wish list, kind of. For me personally, and I've been saying this for probably 2 years now, maybe even longer, Robocraft, the real-time strategy game, where you can build your own units and control them all and send them into battle. So if you wanted to have a big beefy tank, you could do that and put that in one slot, and then you'd press a button and it would mass produce those units for you. You could have some scouts, you could have a flyer, etc, etc. And then, if you had enough energy, you could build a megabot, and that would sort of be the pinnacle of your squadron. But anyways, I might talk about that in another video. And also, before I end this, I would like to reiterate that we are not going to be getting any news about this for the, quote, next couple of weeks. My guess here is that they're waiting for after the Hallowfest event so the community can focus on that without being distracted by anything else. As you know, they've put a fair amount of effort into this event, so they would want people to actually be excited for it. And plus, talking about it before or on Halloween would kind of ruin a little bit of the hype for it, as most people are excited for trick-or-treating or Halloween parties, etc, etc. But anyways, with that, I will finally wrap this video up. I, of course, have been the Awesome Soul. I thank you all so very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.